Get that picture, and Tom, go to the next one, and you see the hooves of the goat on the bottom. And of course, those people who have been in the temple come out with pictures. The whole inside of the temple is just completely designed and ravished with all kinds of serpents all over the temple. How can any man call himself a Christian and be associated with such perversion? It's mind-boggling. This is right outside the temple in Washington, D.C. Now again, we see the serpent around the neck here. We see the ankh here. All occultic. What do you find about this that is anything of Christ? Nothing. This is a layout of Washington, D.C. When they laid the city out, the architect was a Mason, and they laid it out in Masonic symbolism. Here's the White House. Here's the Washington Monument, as I said, point within a circle. Here's the Capitol. The streets that go to the Capitol make up Masonic symbolism, obviously. There's a goat's head up here, and if you turn this on its side, the other way, the other way, one more. You'll see an inverted five-pointed star with the bottom right on top of the White House, folks. That is a satanic symbol. That is a pentagram.
What are the other points?
These other points, I should know them. I can give them to you if you want to write me. I mean, I just don't have them here with me.
One's Mount Vernon Square. They're all important monuments, though.
That's right. Nothing here is happening by accident. That's my whole point. Now, the New Age, where does the New Age come from? It comes right straight out of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. They've published the New Age magazine for nearly 100 years. When Paul Fisher wrote that book, Behind the Lodge Door, with almost 1,000 references, they changed the name. Now they call it New Age Journal or something like that. So, the New Age comes from Freemasonry. This is Albert Pike. Albert Pike wrote Morals and Dogma. Morals and Dogma is a very large treatise on pretty much the sacred mysteries of Freemasonry. He talks about Christianity in there, and he mixes it in with Osiris and Isis and the Eleusinian mysteries and just about every religion known to mankind. And this is Madame Blavatsky, whose Theosophical Society, the whole goal of the Theosophical Society was to create a unity among religions. In other words, water down Christianity, make it bland, make it simple, turn it into absolute nothingness, and then mingle it with all of the other religions. And of course, she was a Satanist, a Luciferian. And you know, what gets me is she says there is no religion higher than truth, right? And here's the serpent eating his tail. You see it? Nazi symbol on top. The serpent eating his tail was the symbol that Benjamin Franklin used. Benjamin Franklin has been considered the greatest proponent of colonial Freemasonry that we ever had. And one of Blavatsky's statements was, what is one to do when in order to rule men it is necessary to deceive them? Now, you can find these kinds of pictures in books on magic, books on witchcraft, and basically this is the god of Freemasonry. This is the god Baphomet. This is the god that the Templars were supposed to have been worshiping when they came back from the Crusades, and the Pope and Philip le Bel condemned Jacques de Molay, who was the head of the Templars at that point in time, and they scattered to Portugal and Scotland. Of course, resurfaced later as the organization of Freemasonry. But again, This is the God of Freemasonry. Now, how would you like to be the wife of a Mason and suddenly come to realize what your husband is into? And he has taken an oath, hasn't he? He's not going to tell you what he's into. Now, what I like to do when I can, I like to read the occult zone books. And I have a book here called The Evolution of Freemasonry, written by a Freemason, published by McCoy Publishing Company, which is a Masonic publishing company. Some of you will really enjoy this. I just toss it in here because I thought it was interesting. It's in this book on page 89. There's a picture of Martin Luther, and it says, Martin Luther opened the way for the future development of Freemasonry. In the book, 10,000 Freemasons, 10,000 Famous Freemasons, written by a Freemason, there is an individual who was a cohort of Martin Luther, who was himself a Freemason. And so, was Luther himself a Mason? I don't know. They don't hold to that themselves. They don't particularly care to honor him as a member of the lodge. But the point is that he certainly didn't help things, did he? And then we have on page 259 in this same book called The Evolution of Freemasonry, this quote, Freemasonry's bitterest foe has always been, you want to guess? The Church of Rome. This is the Masons talking. That's why I love this. This is the Masons talking. Freemasonry's bitterest foe has always been the Church of Rome. Now, how can you be a Mason and go to Mass? How can you be a Mason and say Mass? And then they go on, and he tells us about Pope Pius VII, who published a bull against Freemasonry, and Clement XII, who published a bull against Freemasonry, and how Freemasonry confiscated church property and specifically tried to prohibit the administration of the Holy Sacrament. Satan wants to prevent the Blessed Sacrament from being delivered and exposed. I won't get into my whole story, but for a long period of time, although I was brought up as a Catholic, I went in a different direction. And I read the Bible and so on and so forth, but I wasn't going to a Catholic church. When I came back to it, I was kind of looking around for the way it used to be when I left. So, in a way, thank the Lord, I wasn't there for all of the brainwashing that was going on for 30 years. And so, when I was looking for things that I used to realize were there and should be there, they were gone. Like an altar. It's gone. Like a railing. It's gone. Like Stations of the Cross. If they're not gone, they're so small you can hardly see them. And the tabernacle. Where did it go? Now what I do is when I walk into a Catholic church, I look for where they put the thing, where they hid it. Recently I went to a Catholic church in Florida, and I knew they wouldn't put it on the front altar, so I suspected they might have it over on a side altar, tucked away somewhere. But they didn't have any side altars in this church. So I'm looking all over the place, and I said, I can't see the thing anywhere. So I asked somebody, is this a Catholic church? Yes. I said, where's the Blessed Sacrament? Oh, follow me. So they take me all the way around to the back of the church, through a couple doors, and it's almost like in a closet in the back of the church with a little red light by it. Next thing you know, it'll be out the back door. Somehow or another, I suspect the last days are going to be very, very closely associated with no more proper Mass and no Blessed Sacrament. Now, the Masons say in free America, there's never